guys, how you doing? I'm doing good. I hope you're doing great as well. As most of you know, one of the people that I've really pushed hard on this channel recently, plug-wise, is KidOfWrestling. I think he deserves it. I'll probably keep doing it unless he does something really whack and way off and changes my mind. Not only because he puts out great videos, usually has some pretty intuitive things to say. He's also the one sort of spearheading the effort to, rally the YWC together and rally all the wrestling fans together rather than having us bicker at each other. He's constantly pushing the idea that we should all interact more, we should all respond more, we should all support each other, plug each other, help each other get out there, etc., etc., etc. I think it's great when you look at some of the people on YouTube that seem to do nothing but come on and make videos about each other. It's a breath of fresh air, and it's a change of pace, isn't it? One of the things he's done is he's got his list of 5, I guess you call it series or whatever, 5 superstars that I think this about, 5 superstars that I think this about, and he always punctuates it at the end with, please respond, please make a response vid. And me personally, I always sit there as I'm watching his vids, and I'm like, yeah, well, I can kind of see that one, I can kind of see that one. I think he's way off on this one, I'd put this person here instead. And I've always meant, every time he puts one up, I've meant to do a response, and I haven't had the time, or I haven't had the initiative, or the energy, or whatever other excuse I can come up with, quite frankly. So, here is my response to 5 of his 5 lists. Let you know right off the bat what we're going to have in this video is my 5 most overrated or overused superstars in the WWE, 5 most underrated or underused, 5 who I think should go face, 5 who I think should go heel, and the 5 greatest entrance themes of all, not of all time, but that I enjoy the most. So there's your 5 lists of 5. So without further ado, here we go. I'm sorry if I'm not even really looking at the camera. I've got my list way over here, because if I don't write, guys, you should know this by now, I used to use the clipboard. Now I kind of use the notepad thing. I'm like, if I don't write, you guys think I ramble now. If I didn't write down what I wanted to say, I would talk myself into so many circles we'd be here till next week. So a little bit of honesty, that's what it is for me. 5 most overrated, overused superstars in the WWE currently. Is it any surprise that my first is John Cena? John Cena, and I've said it before, he's become the poster guy for the company. He bent over for Vince McMahon so that he could stay in the main event forever and ever and ever. And his matches aren't that great. The only reason anybody gives a shit about John Cena right now is because he's the one CM Punk's facing this Sunday. All I'm going to say about that. Same thing, unfortunately, goes for Rey Mysterio, which is my number 2. Rey Mysterio used to be great. I used to love watching him in WCW, in his element, in the Cruiserweight division, because he was one part of an amazing thing that was going on at the time. When they brought him over to the WWE, they didn't really think of who he was going to face, and now you get stupid matches like him versus the Big Show, or him versus the Great Khali, or da-da-da-da. And, they've been pushing the David versus Goliath storylines with him for, what, the past 10 years now. And it's unbelievable, and I don't care, and most of the fans don't care unless you're like 5. If you're a kid and he's got that cartoon character element to him, I get that. I can appreciate that, and ultimately, PG era, that's where we're aiming. But anybody with an intelligence level over a 6 or a 7-year-old is getting bored with Rey Mysterio. Not only is he being pushed way too hard, but he's not doing as much as he used to, which is fair enough, because he's had the shit beat out of him over the course of his career. But on that level alone, it's like, okay, but hang it up before you become a Hogan or a Flair. Honestly. Mark Henry's getting a ridiculous push right now that I don't understand. They try to push him every couple of years just because he's strong. He can lift people, he can throw people. That doesn't make him a good fighter. That definitely doesn't put him in contention for the world title. And he's the only one currently that's on both Raw and SmackDown. If you're going to have crossover talent, you might as well have crossover talent like The Miz or Morrison or, other people that I'm going to mention in a little bit. Kelly has to go on this list. I mean, I know most people don't care about the women's division, but for her to be headlining it above so many other people that have so much more potential, so much more experience, so much more to offer in the ring is fucking ridiculous. Kelly Kelly is the John Cena of the women's division, and that's what it needs to be said. The last one is Santino Marella. I mean, he's supposed to be comic relief, but he's been the tag team champion how many times? I'm pretty sure that Vladimir Kozlov, or whoever handles Vladimir Kozlov's career, is shooting himself in the face, because he's decent. He's not the greatest either, I won't say that, but he's decent, and he could do something different, and he's been saddled with Santino Marella because WWE has this great odd couple, it's funny, it's going to be good for a couple of laughs mentality, which wouldn't bug me so much if they hadn't put the damn tag team titles on them. Like, your tag team titles are already dead and buried as it is. Don't go back to the grave and piss on it. Done. Alright. 5 most underrated or underused superstars. Daniel Bryan, for damn sure. He's shown what he can do in the ring time after time after time again. They brought him in as part of the Nexus, realized that that wouldn't work because he just didn't make a very good heel. Because he doesn't. He makes a pretty good, babyface, John Everyman type of guy. But after that, they stuck him in the storyline with the Bellas. They're starting to give him a little bit of a push now, I think, with his rivalry with Cody Rhodes, but that's just ending up with either him being squashed by Rhodes and DiBiase, or him constantly being tag teamed with Sin Cara. Not that I mind Sin Cara, but like, there's nothing there that makes them a team, so just stop. John Morrison. John Morrison is underutilized. John Morrison would have a great rivalry if RVD was still in the WWE. He's not a heavyweight for sure. He's a high flyer, but he's not quite the same as a cruiserweight. He's not quite the same as a Sin Cara or a Rey Mysterio or an Evan Bourne, because he's in that middle ground, so he's underutilized. But I understand why he's underutilized, because they don't really have anybody for him to have a good match with. So it's just unfortunate. And, I don't like to pay homage to very many rumors, but, supposedly he's pissed off a lot of people in the back, a lot of people in the office and whatever, which is fine. But think about it like this. If you're a boss, like if you run a factory or some bullshit lame-ass everyday job like that, and you know that that one guy on the shop floor creates 10 times more product than anybody else on the floor, if you're a good boss, you don't care if that guy likes you or not. You don't care if that guy has the greatest attitude in the world. He's putting out what the customer wants. And John Morrison does that. Like, listen to the pop that he gets when he does come out. Yeah, I'm not going to labor the point anymore. Evan Bourne is another one who's stuck sort of in an unfortunate situation like John Morrison. There isn't a cruiserweight division in the WWE, and the only person he could have a good match with would be Sin Cara or Rey Mysterio if Rey Mysterio was still in his prime. But Rey Mysterio's not in his prime, well past his prime. Sin Cara's on SmackDown, so like the two guys that could even possibly mesh well together, they've kept them on different shows, which is unfortunate. The next is I've squeezed 2 people into one slot here, but Natalya Neidhart and Beth Phoenix. I mentioned Kelly Kelly sort of being the John Cena of the women's division. The fact that these two, along with Karma when she comes back, are not the prominent women wrestlers in the division is fucking ridiculous. It proves that, Vince McMahon would rather sit there and watch 2 Barbie dolls whip each other around and jerk off than watch women actually wrestle. Watch TNA. They've got a good combination of both. And they don't have to be PG about it. Yeah. The last one is another combination. It is, the Nexus has fallen apart and the Core has fallen apart, but you've been left with 2 decent tag teams. Once Wade Barrett and Ezekiel Jackson left the Core, you had Heath Slater and Ezekiel Jackson. Now, Heath Slater's not my favorite wrestler in the world, but Justin Gabriel is phenomenal to watch, and I think he's actually being held back because he shows glimpses of he could be a whole lot better than even I think he is. And as a tag team, he works well with Heath Slater. The matches they've had with the Usos the last little while, the matches that they have where they bury Vladimir Kozlov and Santino Marella, is, they could, I'm not saying they're there yet, but I'm saying give them a chance on their own with no other managers, no other team members and run-ins and bullshit like they had with the Core, These guys could develop into a really, really good tag team. I just don't think anybody's giving them the chance because people were so very, very sick of the core bullshit. Same thing goes for McGillicuddy and Otunga. I mean, like, yeah, Otunga's kind of a pretty boy, kind of not the greatest in the ring, but as far as a team goes, they look like a team. They wrestle like a team. With Punk doing whatever he's doing next, and with Mason Ryan currently on the injured list, they, like Slater and Gabriel, are doing it on their own and not looking half bad doing it. I mean, they had a match with John Cena. They had a handicap match against John Cena on Raw where they lost because it's Super Cena, but they didn't totally get squashed. They looked decent in the match. So you got two divas and two tag teams that are not being given the time of day, and if they were, could do great, great things for those respective divisions. Alright, there's my 5 over, my 5 under. We're almost halfway there. People who should go face. Can the number one person be any more than Punk? Like, if this turns out to all be a work, and Punk is actually staying, which I'm praying for at this point, because Punk is the reason people are watching WWE right now. Not to say that WWE is going to fold up its doors tomorrow if he's not there, but Punk is the reason people are watching WWE right now. And the thing is, he's got the crowd support, and he keeps turning around and insulting the fans. If he stopped that, he could be face, he could be heel, but he could be that Austin-style face, where just because he's the good guy, just because he's the one that everybody loves, doesn't mean he gives a shit. And that was the thing that made Austin so great. He didn't give a shit. He was there for himself. But he recognized the fact that the crowd was behind him 110%. Alright. Dolph Ziggler. People, well, a lot of people I talk to anyway, want to cheer Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler needs to kick Vicky Rowe to the curb, do it in some grand style so that the crowd can cheer him right off the bat, and then go out and show what he can do. Alberto Del Rio, which people are going to think is funny coming from me, because A, I don't really like the guy, and B, he's in a very, very stereotypical, I have lots of money and I'm better than you, sort of million-dollar man, JBL type of thing. But he's also got that cocky, he's got the charisma that I really don't want to admit that he has, because personally I don't like him. But since he got away from SmackDown, since he got away from the over-push he got on SmackDown, and he's been, you know, popping back up slightly more gradually on Raw, I am starting to appreciate him a little bit. If he went face and could be that totally cocky, in-your-face, sarcastic, almost like a Mexican Shawn Michaels, if I can make that comparison without getting shot, it could work well as long as Ricardo Rodriguez stays away, because the whole guest announcer or special personal announcer and Brodus Clay and all that bullshit just made him look weak, which didn't do him any favors at all, did it? If he goes out on his own, slowly turns face, maybe not right away, but maybe there's somebody worse coming along doing something a lot worse, and he finally has this big moment of epiphany and takes them out and has a change of heart and grows gradually that way. It could be good, I think. The Miz, basically the same thing. The Miz, I would have loved to see go. The Miz, I would have loved to see go into WrestleMania if The Rock wasn't there. Go into WrestleMania face, take out John Cena. You know, on behalf of the wrestling community, kind of like what CM Punk is doing now. But the Miz could have done it too. The Miz could have beaten John Cena, gotten crowd support from beating John Cena, because my God, we need something else other than John Cena in the main event. And I think he could have ridden that wave of fan base into a total face turn. Again, just my opinion. The last one, which I kind of put on here as an idea, but Mason Ryan, when he comes back, could be a face. Mason Ryan, you know, everybody compares him to Batista. Batista made a good face from time to time, but I can see him being kind of like, I don't know, the Great Khali is picking on Evan Bourne or something like that, and all of a sudden we hear Mason Ryan, because like Mason Ryan comes out and he's the big guy that sticks up for the little guy. It's very, very cliche, and it's been done before, but it would be a great way for him to come back and a great way to turn around his character, I think. Again, my opinion. any of these guys, I'm totally pulling my own thoughts out of thin air. The box is down there for a reason. Please tell me what you think. Please tell me if you think I'm right off my rocker, because even then, we'll at least have a conversation going. Who should go heel? Wouldn't it be great if John Cena came out on Raw next week, whipped off his shirt, threw it in Vince McMahon's face, said, "I'm tired of being your puppet," cut a real rap promo on Vince, and just went head-to-head with Vince McMahon for a while? That would be fucking brilliant. Not saying it would be as great as what Punk's doing right now. I'm not saying it would come anywhere near the old Austin McMahon rivalry, but I'd love to see it, just because I think the fans need John Cena in some way to recognize the piece of shit corporate tool that he has become. Even if it's for 5 seconds, we need sort of that silent apology from John Cena at this point, because if not, your fan base is going to fall off the face of the planet. It really is. Rey Mysterio. I would love to see Rey Mysterio unmasked in WCW. Was when I really started liking Rey Mysterio a lot, when he was part of the Misfits in Action and other things like that. I would love to see Rey Mysterio come out after losing a shitload of matches and kind of do what R-Truth has done, but take off the mask, cut a promo directed at the kids, which would get a lot of heat, but cut a promo at the kids basically saying, I'm tired of being your cartoon character, it's time for me to think about me, and then slowly rise up again on a gigantic heel turn, because it would create so much heat. It would create so much legitimate heat from, kids and parents and da-da-da-da, and the WWE brass alone would know that it was such a risk that they would have to go all in on it, and I think it would be great. The other thing that would happen out of that, if Rey Mysterio had come out and said something like that, said anything along the lines of, I'm tired of being your cartoon character, I'm tired of being your superhero, would it not be the perfect opportunity for Sin Cara to come out and challenge him and have a Mysterio-Sin Cara rivalry? Because everybody's been thinking about that since Sin Cara came in. So that would be your perfect lead-in right there. Again, I'm going to talk about the Divas division. I kind of like what they're doing with Caitlyn and AJ, sort of being mentored by Natalya Neidhart. Because at least, even if she's not getting ring time herself, at least it recognizes that she has a lot to bring to the women's division, even if it's a false sort of a mentoring sort of status. Would it not be great if Caitlyn and AJ, rose themselves to prominence, and as soon as they did that, turned on Natalya? If AJ and Caitlyn turned on Natalya, it's like, the students have fought against the teacher. Beth Phoenix is already friends with Natalya, we know that. They could have a great sort of tag team, Natalya and Beth versus AJ and Caitlyn rivalry. It would all be right there. All the parts are there. They're just not going to do it. Randy Orton. If Randy Orton was the heel in the Christian and Randy Orton rivalry, it would make a lot more sense, because Christian's the one that's struggling, so he should be the face. And Randy Orton's at that point in his career of the Austin, of the Triple H, of the Shawn Michaels, where whether he's face or heel, people are going to cheer for him anyway. The last one that needs to go heel is Jerry Lawler, believe it or not. I know he's not because of the whole Michael Cole bullshit, but we need to first of all, we need to get JR back on the announce booth, get Cole out of there. And Jerry the King Lawler is the one that's good at being the heel at the commentator's table. He's good at backing the bad guys, etc., etc., etc. So Jerry Lawler's the last one. It might be anticlimactic for me to talk about a commentator as the last one in the heel list, but there it is. 5 greatest entrance themes of all time, in my opinion. I've always loved the themes that you would sing along to, the things that you know the words to. I hate the generic sort of instrumental crap that the WWE creates. So based on that, here is my list. D-Generation X. D-Generation X was, entrance-wise, was so different and so upbeat and so, like, grab you by the ears when it first came about that that it's #1 on the list for sure. #2 is Shawn Michaels' Sexy Boy, because it is classic. and I'm pretty sure anybody that's a WWE fan knows the words too. Um, the last three are just songs that, like entrances that I downloaded, and they're just on my iPod as songs that I like to listen to now. The Miz, I Came to Play, Ashley Macero's Light a Fire, and RVD's One of a Kind, because you can put all those on, and you can just, like, I don't want to sound corny, but you can rock out to any of those three songs, and it's just like you're listening to your iPod. It's not like you're like, oh, I'm being a wrestling mark, so I'm going to go be a wrestling mark for 5 minutes. You can just sit back and enjoy them as music, and that's better. And it means people, and I've seen it happen at shows. On a side note, I'm going to SmackDown in September if anybody cares. But you hear people in the crowds that will actually sing along to the entrances that are actually songs. Slow Chemical for Kane by Finger 11, when they were using that, is another great example. So this will be a top 6 list to top it off. I have rambled on for far too long. This is my massive response to Kid of Wrestling's lists of 5. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Go subscribe to Kid of Wrestling. If you're a wrestling, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't, because you're missing out on a really great YouTuber, a really great wrestling fan mind, in my own humble opinion. I've been Spaz. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, let me know what you think, and I will talk to you guys later.